Hello? Last lecture is entitled The High Price of Losing. Is this really the last lecture? No. It's not going to be my last lecture. I've had 6 or 7 people in the last month and a half ask me if I was dying from a terminal disease. Several people asked me if I was leaving Baker or not leaving Baker. But I am excited about talking tonight. This is the idea. Each semester, a faculty member will be selected from student nominations to speak for the last lecture series. The last lecture provides an informal format for selected faculty to share reflection from their life's journey and to speak to students as if it was their last lecture ever. There are not any predetermined boundaries for the program. That was a mistake. The faculty member will be speaking from the premise, if you knew this was the last lecture you would ever give, what would you share with the students? Okay, a little clarification. Aaron already talked about Randy Pouch, Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. You can YouTube that if you haven't. You absolutely want to do it. It's an amazing thing. He was an artificial intelligence professor at Carnegie Mellon who lost the battle with pancreatic cancer. What a lot of people don't realize is that the last lecture series at Carnegie Mellon, which is in Pittsburgh, was already in existence. It wasn't invented for his purpose. He just was selected because he was an incredibly popular professor. He was a graduate student at Carnegie Mellon as well. And it seemed only appropriate because, in fact, it was going to be, in fact, was his last lecture. Baker's very own SAC has decided to adopt this model, which I thought was a great idea, at least until the moment that Aaron asked me to speak. Yeah. What wisdom does John Richards have to offer? A great question. Please keep in mind that I'm someone whose life resembles less a shining example of achievement and purpose and more a poorly run garage sale. However, achievement isn't necessarily evidence of wisdom. So with that in mind, I've spent a fair amount of time thinking about what I would speak about and finally decided to focus on winning and losing. Why talk about losing? I've been teaching students for 20 years, and in all that time, I've watched this growing fear that people have of losing. We all know how important winning is, and we're all afraid of losing. I don't like to lose, let me assure you. But I think the fear of losing has gotten a lot greater than since when I was a kid. I mean, it's almost to the point of paralyzing people from trying things simply because they're afraid of the embarrassment or the association of, being involved in a losing cause, or, the personal attachment with not doing well. And I think we put too much emphasis on losing. I'm not going to say too much emphasis on winning. You always hear that. There's always too much emphasis on losing. And my fear is that we're actually putting too much emphasis on losing itself. I want to remind you, I like to win, and I hate to lose. So I'm not here to talk about getting rid of those things. Here's the good news. You're going to lose. This sounds harsh, but it's true. Let's face the fact, nobody wins at everything. And while it's good to win, do not be afraid of losing. It's a favorite quote of mine from George Eliot. Any coward can fight a battle when he's sure of winning, but give me a man who has the pluck to fight when he's sure of losing any time. Don't be afraid. My journey. Keep in mind that I did not say that my life was interesting, and or inspiring, and I certainly make no claims to wisdom. If you think it is, well, let me assure you that while the technology is pretty much, different from the technology I had from when I was a kid, a lot of things are pretty much the same. So in some sense, I'm a lot like you, sort of. I have wonderful parents. My dad on an archaeological dig in 1947 in southern Missouri. There's my mom, who was a full-time housemaker and full-time worker. She did both. These are fun. I was the fifth of 6 children. That's me, my head bent behind my sister there. I was a cute baby. Okay, let's say it. Adorable. I love pets. I had a lot of fun growing up. That's me on the left there with a mouthful of cookies. My sister's in bed with bad hair. Only one of my older sisters. It's my little brother on the right, snarfing cookies. That's me dressed up for Sunday service on Easter. That's why I've got that amazing hat. Playing sports. Learned a lot about winning and losing. Many of you have heard me say I am the 1977 Baldwin High School homecoming king. That's the proof right there from the Baldwin Ledger, October 27, 1977. But I picked this picture because you'll see me, I'm number 50 there on the right. And if you know anything about football, that fullback from Wellsville is coming in for the kill. He's going to take me out on that. I'm going to get slaughtered in that picture, even though it was like bulldog chases down the quarterback, but I'm going to get wiped out in that picture. I got a good education, Baldwin schools. I'm a townie. I went to Baker University for a couple of years, and then left. I make a lot of jokes about that, but maybe this isn't the right place. I finished at the University of Kansas and did my master's work there, and then went to Brown, where I'm still officially enrolled as a student, believe it or not. I do not have a PhD. My advisor came back to me 2.5 years ago after I'd all but given up and said, I want you to try it again. So I'm back in the game. And then back to Baker in 1997. This is my 14th year of teaching here. This is my soulmate. My wife, Nancy. We've been married 28 years. Is that right? Yeah, I found somebody very special. Why? Because she loves me, despite all of my faults. And I love her, despite the fact that she has no faults. My amazing kids. I have 3, they all go to Baker. They wouldn't look at any other school. I'm very proud of that fact. And I have an amazing, absolutely incredible granddaughter who was very excited about ballet. She got home from ballet this evening. Was in her jumpsuit. It was amazing. But what does it all mean? My life is good and I plan to keep it that way. I've had wonderful experiences and achievements, but I also know that I'm going to lose. I'm losing all the time. Hair, teeth, energy, eyesight, memory, and if you've had class with me, hearing. It's in all caps because I have to shout that. And I've lost friends and family to death. The older I get, the more I lose. Such is life. Think about the verb. We use the same verb to lose to describe lots of things. Competitions and contests. We lost the football game. Body weight. We lost a lot of weight. Mobile phones. Can't find it. It's an everyday occurrence. Our sense of direction. Our loved ones. It's kind of overwhelming when you think about it. But then it's not. It's life. I accept it. And I do so because I know that others have done so. And because knowing that the facts don't and knowing these facts doesn't mean that you have to roll over. There have been millions of others who have faced the problems far, far worse, in far, far worse circumstances than me. And they've all endured and lived well. I'll take an 84-year-old grandma over an 18-year-old guy any day. You know, you could sit there and say that, well, you're young, you're energetic, but think about the toughness that that grandmother has to have endured and experienced so much in life, and to get up smiling and make your cookies, right? That's endurance, and that's strength to me. Some of these people I've known personally, but many more I've learned about by studying history. In fact, studying people who lose is my favorite part of history. Students who've had class with me know about this. And one of my all-time favorite losers is Terence. Who? Publius Terentius Afer. Born in 190 BC, his mother was a Greek slave from southern Italy. His father was a Libyan from the tribe that was called the Afri. It's the tribe that gives its name to the entire continent of Africa. He was sold as a child to Publius Terentius Lucanus, a Roman senator. He was raised and educated as a household slave. Eventually, he was freed by Lucanus because of his exceptional intellect and writing ability. You can imagine the hardship of his life. He was a slave, he was the son of a slave, he was sold at auction. But his plays, the 6 comedies that survive, are very, very funny. They're very funny for a person who must have experienced incredible misery growing up. And more importantly, they celebrate life and give me some valuable lessons and suggestions for understanding it. There's lots of good information there. And you're going to have heard a lot of these things. These are quotations that come directly from his play. Nothing is said that's not been said before. So many people, so many questions or opinions. I'm not sure if he's complaining or asking. That is true wisdom, to know how to alter one's mind when the occasion demands it. There's really nothing so easy that it becomes difficult when you do it reluctantly. Too much liberty corrupts us all. What is done, let us leave alone. Charity begins at home. Moderation in all things. I have everything, yet have nothing. And although I possess nothing, still of nothing I am in want. And I bid him to look into the lives of men as though into a mirror, and from others take an example for himself. If you didn't figure that one out, that means look at other people's lives in order to understand yourself. Don't look inside, look outside. But here's my favorite. Ego homo, ergo teneo nihil humanum mihi alienum est. No Latin. Andrew? I am a human being, and hold therefore that nothing human is foreign to me. Now, the reason why I went into the study of history because is what history did for me in terms of the perspective of human experience. And by studying history, I realized a lot. Millions of people have come before me and who've suffered and experienced and struggled against adversity so much greater than what I've experienced. And so when I read this, I actually read this in the Compton's Encyclopedia. When I was a freshman in high school, we had a copy of the Compton's Encyclopedia in my house from like 1966 or 1965. And I read this quote, and it was cool because it was in Latin. Would I tell you I'm a nerd? Yeah. Right? Nothing wrong with that. And I was so excited about this because I understood, not the Latin, because I hadn't had any, but I understood what it meant to recognize that what you're suffering is something that everyone else is suffering from. And if you put it in perspective, not only does it allow you to improve yourself and understand yourself, but it allows you to understand what other people are going through. And by doing that, you develop empathy. You care. It's a matter of perspective. Understand that I'm going to lose hasn't deterred me from living.